when a delinquent loser in real life and Japan's top TACFAM player Tomozaki meets the charming all-rounder Hinami, who's not only a real-life ace but TACFAM's second best. They both learn life's toughest game isn't just about skill. Through their journey, Tomozaki discovers the true meaning of sincerity and what it really means to be himself. The story kicks off with Fumiya Tomozaki facing off against Shuji Nakamura, a guy who seems to have been born holding a winning lottery ticket. Shuji dominates in looks, grades, sports, and is basically the class king with an ever-growing fan club of girls. In the game of life, Tomozaki feels like he's playing on hard mode with broken controls, but in TACFAM, the tables flip. There's zero fear of losing to Shuji. After all, Tomozaki holds the crown as the #1 TACFAM player in all of Japan. After losing, Shuji starts blaming the game and the character he chose. Shuji's gaming motto is, "It is never him, it's always the character's fault." He says the game is all about matchups, clearly making excuses to hide his defeat. Shuji asks if Tomozaki thinks he is wrong and if winning like this is fun. Calling TACFAM a garbage game makes Tomozaki angry, because for gamers, blaming the game after losing is the biggest shame. Shuji, clearly not ready to swallow defeat, suggests a rematch with different characters. Tomozaki agrees, but only after making Shuji promise to accept the loss like a true warrior if it happens again. Shuji nods, and Tomozaki ups the ante. Since Shuji called TACFAM a garbage game, he must upgrade it to God tier status if he loses. Round 2 begins and ends the same way. Tomozaki sweeps the floor with him. Shuji heads home. Tomozaki walks out of school alone, thinking about how people call life a God tier game. From his view, that is a lie. Life is unfair. People are judged for their appearance, body, and age. No matter how much effort is made, if health fails at the wrong time, everything can be lost. Tomozaki believes these unfair rules are never challenged. Tomozaki treats life like a rigged gacha game. He is a good example. The only reason he played TACFAM with Shuji today was because Shuji heard he was good at it. Most of the time, Tomozaki does not talk to anyone. Sitting at the station, he thinks about how top-tier people talk about life. Those born lucky enjoy life in easy mode, while those born without advantages are treated like noobs in a game. He knows he has dominated many games before. For him, the game of life is garbage. In short, life's the only game Tomozaki wishes had an uninstall button. Later, at home, Tomozaki plays against No Name, who has gotten better. This opponent has not only studied his style, but also built a counter strategy. Tomozaki is still better at attack and combos, but No Name has improved in dodging combos. At Tomozaki's level, it is rare to get caught in a combo at all, and most top players focus more on offense than defense. But No Name, ranked second in the country, is highly skilled in defense. This means he must have been training by taking combos on purpose to prepare for a future match against Tomozaki. Tomozaki knows he must stay alert. Going up against her now is like fighting a game boss that keeps downloading updates mid-battle. After winning the game, Tomozaki receives a message from No Name asking if he lives in the Kanto region. When he replies yes, No Name invites him to meet in person. The next day in class, Tomozaki expects rumors about the match with Shuji to be spreading. However, no one says anything. He guesses everyone knows what happened and is being careful. Sitting alone, Tomozaki sees Aoi Hinami enter. She is the best student in the grade, a top athlete, and a beautiful girl admired by everyone. With her natural charm, she is a perfect heroine. She's basically the final boss of high school. For someone bad at real life, she inspires not friendliness, but pure awe. As Tomozaki leaves school, Aoi calls out to him. Surprised that a girl like her is speaking to him, he listens as she says she heard about the TACFAM match with Shuji. She is shocked to learn that Shuji lost to him. Later, Tomozaki goes to the meeting place to meet No Name. He wants to see what kind of person this player is. The message says to look for someone in a navy jacket and beige skirt. The word skirt surprises him. When he sees No Name, both are shocked. It is Aoi Hinami. She is equally surprised to find that Nanashi is Tomozaki. Their meeting felt like a surprise boss fight no one queued for. Aoi cannot believe her respected rival is someone who has given up on life. She tells herself not to get carried away about TACFAM. Still, she feels disappointed that Nanashi, the person she admired, is actually a bottom-tier loser. Tomozaki asks if it was necessary to say that out loud, as some truth can be left unsaid. He points out that it is rude to be so blunt to someone barely known. Aoi apologizes but says his outfit is also rude, as there should be some effort when meeting people. She points to his dirty sneakers, worn jeans, wrinkled shirt, and messy hair. Her glance at his dirty clothes hit harder than a critical attack. She apologizes again, saying it is still rude to say. Not wanting to discuss TACFAM anymore, she prepares to leave, but Tomozaki stops her. He tells her that someone like her, born with high stats, cannot understand his position. His life is unbalanced and feels like a garbage game. A bottom-tier character like him, awkward and often ridiculed, with no confidence in communication, cannot win against top-tier characters like her. He despises normies with their rich offline lives and baseless self-confidence, moving in groups and pretending it is fun. Even if there were reasons to be confident, he cannot enjoy life that way. This way of living is in his nature, but he is fine with it and finds his loner life fun in its own way. He tells her not to force her values on him. Aoi Aoi asks if he hates people with rich offline lives. She believes he calls life a garbage game because he has never tasted that kind of life. She tells him that blaming the game after losing means he is not a true gamer. He replies sadly that, unlike in TACFAM, characters cannot be changed in real life. When asked what that means, he says that if he were a top tier like her, attractive, smart, athletic, he would be doing better. Her sheer awesomeness makes Tomozaki feel like he's still stuck in the tutorial level. Aoi grabs his hand and takes him to her home. She leaves him waiting in a room, then returns without makeup, looking very different. She explains that with a little effort, appearance stats can improve. She says that appearance depends on expression and posture. By working on these, it is possible to reach normie level looks. Aoi tells him she was an ordinary, even below average person through grade school. With effort, she built confidence and communication skills. She believes Tomozaki can do the same. She respected Nanashi because, in TACFAM, no matter how much she tried, she could not beat him. Yet in life, the same person was not even trying. That frustrates her. She cannot accept that someone who beats her in a game is a worthless jerk in life because it would make her feel worthless too. Aoi says life is not unbalanced but built from many simple rules combined. She calls life the ultimate god-tier game and decides to teach him the rules so he can play seriously. Tomozaki still thinks life is garbage, but agrees that blaming the game without effort is the greatest shame for a gamer. Since Aoi is no name, the only player he respects, he decides to listen. He asks her how god-tier life is. Aoi says life has great freedom, and the first step in such a game is character creation. She gives him a box of masks and says they will talk more over lunch. At lunch, she shows the difference between her normal mouth and pretty mode. Raising the corners of the mouth changes first impressions. She gives him a mask to wear at all times, except when eating, to train his smile. She says they will meet in the old sewing room before and after classes to review daily tasks. Before leaving, she remembers that this meeting counts as their first offline meeting as no name and Nanashi, so they should exchange TACFAM friend codes. At home, Tomozaki practices smiling in the mirror. His little sister sees him and tells him he is creepy enough already and not to get worse since she is the one facing secondhand embarrassment at school. Later, in the sewing room, Aoi writes on the board like a teacher. She says his ultimate goal is to be as satisfied with offline life as she is. To reach that, he will need medium and small goals. This is the same method he uses to train in TACFAM. The first small goal is to get a family member or close friend to ask if he has a girlfriend, which means they notice his improvement. The medium goal, get a girlfriend before the 3rd year of high school. The first daily task, talk to at least 3 girls at school. Looking at the board, Tomozaki thinks even the small goal is too big. A bottom tier character would hardly talk to any girls, let alone have a girlfriend. It feels impossible, but with no name, handing out the quest like a main story mission, declining would be like pressing the game over button. At Sakatomo High, the girls can rock either a ribbon or a necktie, but there's an unspoken rule that the unpopular ones can't flex the necktie. Fumiya Tomozaki task for the day involves figuring out who to chat with and what to say. 2 of the girls are on a team necktie, his neighbor Yuzu Izumi and Minami Nanami, who sits next to him in home economics. The 3rd choice is totally up to him. Masked up in class, Fumiya tries to talk to Yuzu like a lagging player trying to dodge in real time. He hits up Yuzu for a quick chat and asks if she's got any tissues since he's caught a cold and forgot his own. Following Aoi's advice about making a straightforward entry when talking to someone new, he keeps it simple. Yuzu, sorry, no tissues. Checks with Fuka Kikuchi, while Tomozaki awkwardly clears his nose, causing Fuka to wonder why he's grinning. Panicking, he blurts out that his teeth hurt, which stuns her. Later, Tomozaki strolls solo, remembering Aoi's tip to make sure she's nearby when talking to these girls, just in case. Next up is Minami Nanami from the track and field club, also connected to Aoi. He swings by the home economics class where Minami is present, but Aoi's missing, so he figures he can lay low for now. Minami catches him off guard by asking why he came early, making it clear he can't just ignore her anymore. He imagines spilling the real reason but quickly ditches the idea, feeling it's kinda creepy. Minami notices his weird vibes and wonders what's up. Sitting down, he kicks off the convo but ends up spewing some lame talk. He tells her it's awesome that she gave a dead-end reply yet still responded, calling teenage girls empathetic. She bursts out laughing. Trying again, he explains how sick is the new slang for everything among teens, which cracks her up even more, telling him to stop sounding like a talk show host. In class, Shuji and other students show up. Minami declares Tomozaki hilarious, sparking curiosity from the boys. Fumiya spills the tea on what just went down, but the guys don't even find it funny. Minami calls their humor busted. Shuji calls for a vote on who's weird. Minami gets the thumbs up. Then he asks who thinks he's weird, with Minami raising her hand. Tomozaki keeps an eye on Hanabi, who's acting off, and decides to skip voting to avoid awkwardness. Aoi arrives and demands to be counted alongside Minami, reminding Shuji he lost to Fumiya and TACFAM. The class goes silent as she calls him salty and mocks him, even joking about Shimano dumping him. Shuji's crew cracks up since she sounds just like her. Both stack up for Shuji as the weird one, with Hinami, Minami, Tomozaki, and Tama all siding that way. Aoi orders Shuji to challenge Fumiya in TACFAM for revenge, and he tells Tomozaki to watch out. Later, Hanabi thanks Hanami for turning Shuji into a total yikes. Minami playfully bites Tama's ear, and Aoi gets tickled by Minami. It looks like a kiss might happen, but Aoi pulls away, teasing instead. Minami admits she can't beat Aoi, while Tama tells Aoi to stop harassing Minami, then thanks her too, all in good humor. Meanwhile, Fumiya thanks Aoi for the save. She calls Tomozaki a riot. Minami says he can call her Mimimi, while Hinami mentions only teachers call her Nanami. Tama's real name is Hanabi Natsubayashu, but everyone calls her Tama, which suits her cuteness. In Sewing Room 2, Tomozaki hangs with Hinami, who warns him that Shuji still holds a grudge over TACFAM and is a key player, so being on Shuji's bad side means shaky ground. She tells him the ultimate goal is to be as satisfied offline as she is, which is tough but necessary. They need to defuse this emotional bomb as soon as possible, and only she's brave enough to say it out loud and joke about it. She asks if Tomozaki picked up anything else today, and he wonders if he's just a terrible conversationalist who doesn't know what to say. Hinami says for someone starting out, today's practice was a big win, but admits he totally flubbed the rest. She spots him grinning under his mask and blowing his nose without subtlety. Calling him the lowest of the low, she jokes he could be at the wart core and still not be low enough. Her carrot stick swapping is giving him whiplash. When he brings up Hanabi acting off, she explains Tama is stubborn or sincere, refusing to go along with moods just to fit in, a trait she and Minami admire. Hanabi is a bad match for control freaks like Shuji Nakamura, though they've had their spats. Shuji means no harm, he just wants her to flow with the group. Hinami reminds Tomozaki to come ready tomorrow for posture correction. Next day, Hinami's laser focused on posture work, believing fixing it will boost Tomozaki's timid mindset. Standing against a wall, she checks his muscles by touching his butt, causing panic, but tells him to chill. She guides him step by step on how to stand properly and instructs him to ditch the mask to practice talking with her, Mimimi, Hanabi, and others throughout the day. The task is to posture and join conversations daily all week, aiming for the medium goal of having a girlfriend before year 3. This lays the groundwork. She wants to see reactions and conversational vibes before planning next moves. When she asks who he should get close to, Tomozaki is surprised she's thought it through solo. She compares it to a boss battle, checking if his level is high enough. Using game metaphors, he realizes they're on the same wavelength. She mentions heading home with Hashiguchi, Matsumoto, and Mimimi, so he better join their chat. The crew talks about strength training, with Tomozaki jumping in about butt muscles. To back him up, Hinami chimes in that she's also working on her glutes. Minami credits Hinami's physique to those muscles. At the station, Tomozaki thanks Hinami for the save. She reminds him both he and Minami get off at Kitayono and tells him to hang tough and do it right. Later, Minami and Tomozaki chat, with her surprised to learn he lives in Kitayono too. She asks why he's nervous. He notes her boundless energy. She says she's determined to live life full throttle, always smiling. He's torn on whether that's amazing or rough. She wonders why he thinks it's rough, and he says there must be times when smiling isn't possible. She insists those are the times a smile is needed most, or hardships get worse. He recalls Hinami saying mind and body are linked. Minami confesses she's been wondering about something. When he asks what, she tells him to spill because she senses something fishy between him and Hinami. Humor alert. He denies it. Sure, Hinami wouldn't be into someone like him. She laughs and agrees fast, calling him hilarious and telling him to let his fun side shine since he's always so serious. He's content without always having fun, loving TACFAM not for fun, but because he's passionate, with fun as a bonus. She thinks he's a bit like Tama, who refuses to bend just for fun unless fully okay with it. She respects that and says she's more like always bending, asking if that's admirable. He admits he has no clue. She jokes she's a young maiden with worries, realizing Tama's life is rough, but that's why she's flexible, protecting her. They chat until she reaches home. Next day, Hinami checks in on what he talked about yesterday. She thinks he's good at speaking his mind, which isn't common. Minami is super flexible. Tama speaks her mind easily too. She asks if he's met anyone like her, and he realizes it's tough to just say what's on his mind. She agrees, saying that's his weapon and killer skill when trouble hits. She asks if he noticed anything else while leveling up conversational XP. After thinking, he spots conversational roles. Minami always kicks off with phrases like, check this out, introducing new topics. Sometimes Hinami does too. Then someone expands the topic. Usually, a few like her or Minami start things while everyone builds on them. Smooth conversations need topic starters and expanders. She tells him to focus on getting better at both. He catches her saying, exactly, twice, and asks what that is. She clams up but admits it's a habit. A shout out to a retro game she loved as a kid. Go, Oinko! At first she thought it was a spin-off character, but it had a legit story with a theme about justified fighting. Kids went wild for its unique world and adorable characters. She calls it a fantastic piece of work and jokes she's been hexed. He asks if she's a fan and if he knows Oinko, expecting nothing less from Japan's top gamer. Hardly anyone's heard of it, but it was huge. She steers back to the main topic, writing that improving conversational skills means introducing new topics and expanding on them. She gives him flashcards. Nakajima in Group 1 with the little brother story, drama from Episode 3 of Secret Father, and Matsumoto in Group 2 with strength training. He's surprised and asks if she memorized these. She says it keeps him from running out of things to talk about. Showing a pocket recorder, she says she recorded today's conversation for him to listen and get a feel for his own style. Then she brings up plans for Saturday, but he reminds her there's no school then. She says that's all the more for a reason since she has no club activities and informs him they'll meet at Omiya Station at 11 a.m. to spend the day together. On Saturday, arrival at Omiya Station comes with an apology for being late. A careful look from her eyes judging the decent appearance signals real effort made, earning a pass this time for progress shown. The question of the day's goal is met with a certain look, leaving him wondering about its meaning. The explanation follows. When a girl's the first friend, life feels like a date for a while. The day's focus is hacks for the fashion-deprived, a shortcut to assembling a well-coordinated outfit. This is character creation phase 2. Starting with a mannequin, dressed thoughtfully by multiple employees, the mannequin acts as the store billboard. Buying the entire outfit off a mannequin means borrowing a pro's fashion sense. The advice is clear that as a newbie, follow the veterans, an essential gaming rule echoed in TACFAM. The task is to pick one outfit. After much struggle, one is chosen. Hinami advises asking an employee to try it on. Surprise hits, no buying off the rack due to sizing. Confusion is evident, prompting her to coach him to simply say he wants to try on the mannequin's outfit. Repeating this mantra, he approaches the salesboy but slips up, saying he'd like that mannequin instead. A resigned sigh from Hinami follows. Lunchtime brings a menu and time before a hair appointment. He opts for the tomato cheese hamburger steak combo. Hinami proposes splitting the cheese-stuffed hamburger steak with Japanese-style sauce and sharing the tomato cheese one. He hesitates but agrees. She checks if he listened to the pocket recorder. He admits he did and was surprised by how different his voice and manner of speaking sounded. The voice and manner of speaking sounded so different, it felt like hearing an NPC voiced by the wrong actor. She points out his heavy reliance on filler phrases like she sees and oh, right, always in the same tone, making it sound like muttering. Without facial expressions or gestures, emotions fail to come across. Her task, during lunch conversation, use only short, vowel-based utterances, demonstrating how fewer words force emotion through expression, gestures, and tone. In other words, it's time to stop sounding like a monotone NPC and start acting like a main character. Kikuchi the waitress arrives, surprising both as a friend. Hinami reveals their friendship started in home economics class. Once she leaves, Hinami shares her thoughts. Fuka Kikuchi will be the first heroine in this playthrough. The goal is to make her girlfriend, as Kikuchi shows the most promise of all the girls talked to so far. When he tried to borrow a tissue from Yuzu, Kikuchi had hers ready even before Yuzu asked. While that might seem like simple kindness, Kikuchi called his name first when serving food, which is a small detail, but in high school status terms, that's practically a glowing quest marker. Hinami points out that girls usually greet their own gender first, but Kikuchi greeted him first, proving interest. He's unsure if he likes Kikuchi yet, feeling the whole thing is a bit dishonest, but commits to playing this life game seriously. They begin eating. Following Hinami's instructions, he offers cheesecake with expressive gestures and facial cues. She kicks him, clarifying. She wants New York-style cheesecake. Back home, post-haircut, he stands before the mirror feeling stylish. His little sister walks in, curious about his pose. Next morning in sewing room 2, Hinami questions the early fuss. He reports possibly clearing a small goal, mentioning his little sister's request from last night. She senses his pleasure and congratulates him. Though he feels like a mannequin mimic with his new clothes and hair, she acknowledges his resolve to trust her advice. Efforts to improve expression and posture are paying off. She credits him for chasing results with his own hands. Erasing the board, she writes the next goal: go somewhere with a girl from school who isn't her on a proper date. Daily tasks include talking to Yuzu Azumi at least twice a day. Surprised, he asks why Azumi when Kikuchi was the heroine. She explains real life isn't a dating sim. Raising affection toward a girl can trigger possessiveness and improve male status, but it's too early for a loner to worry about that. Save it for serious relationships. He agrees to the twice daily chats with Azumi. The next morning, sleepy, he calls Yuzu about English homework. She hasn't done it yet. The conversation fizzles quickly. Hinami messages about tomorrow's meeting in sewing room 2. Later, she gives him speaking and expression passing marks. Barely. She notes that if Yuzu had finished the assignment, they'd have had a proper conversation. Encouraging continued effort, she slaps his butt, causing him to fall from his chair and question if she's still training posture now. She praises his capacity for effort and challenge. Not all effort guarantees success, but effort toward a goal will pay off if done right. She reminds him that his cursed gear has him poisoned and confused. After hearing this, he resolves to give it his best shot. Daily chats with Yuzu continue, with progress reports to Hinami. Sitting in the library, tired and frustrated, Fuka Kikuchi strolls in with a book. She notices he's always there during class changes and jokingly remarks, "Oh, there, Tomozaki again." He apologizes, admitting he's been focused elsewhere, actually pretending to read while devising TACFAM strategies. She spots the book, Michael Andy, and says he's always reading it, though he has no clue about it, having grabbed it from the nearest shelf. She shares her fandom and starts a conversation. Eventually, she confesses she's writing a novel and suggests he read it and share his thoughts. He agrees. She promises to bring it next time and asks him to keep it secret. Before leaving, she says, "Ibi daite," and he responds with "Mozon Rekuku." She smiles and departs. Later, he recounts this to Hinami, who Googles Mozon Rekuku, discovering it's some secret handshake. She's impressed by his potential and teases him about being rude to poor Fuka by denying her affection perfection like a masochist. Though he hasn't told Hinami he promised to read her novel, doubt creeps in. Maybe the real mistake was never reading books like hers. The thought of coming clean feels safer than letting misunderstandings grow. Hinami cuts in, explaining that taking Fuka on a date and enjoying time with the author has nothing to do with actually reading the book. She asks if that's what he thinks relationships are about and if it feels fake. In the end, the choice is his, but she warns not to use being sincere as a fancy excuse to hit the escape button. Sincerity is noble, but in dating, it's about as useful as bringing a wooden sword to a boss fight. At the board, she reviews his progress, daily chats this week, and speaking to Yuzu twice a day. She declares him passed. In game terms, he failed his conversation with Yuzu and got a game over. When retrying, he can start over or pick up where he left off. He guesses the latter, and she affirms, exactly. She explains life's game overs are unique because experience is gained even in defeat. He's done earning XP with Yuzu for now and should be level 3. Later, about to leave school, he spots Yuzu sitting alone. Though his task is done, he approaches. Out of topics and unsure what to say, he recalls Hinami's advice: if stuck, talk about her clothes or facial expression. Following this, he tells Yuzu she looks gloomy. She erupts in anger, denying it and demanding how he dares to say that. Confused, he immediately apologizes, realizing he's done taking initiative. Wondering what good level 3 really is, he starts leaving when Yuzu compliments his TAC-fam skills and asks him to teach her too. Yuzu used to hang out with Shuji, but lately he's been grinding TAC-fam after school like it's his main quest. She tells him that when she said she wanted to play too, he called her weak and said it wasn't worth his time. That's why she grabbed her own copy to practice solo. He asks if she's not seeing much progress. She thinks Shuji just doesn't get it and asks if he knows Erika. Yuzu explains that Erika confessed to Shuji, but he blew her off faster than a speedrun skip, knowing Erika's a leader in the necktie crew and part of Izumi's circle. Yuzu figured Shuji might like her since they always hang out, but he told Erika to shut up and stop following him. She wants his take on all this. He offers to teach her TAC-fam so she can take on Shuji, and she's down. They head to her place and start gaming. Yuzu's solid on fundamentals but struggles with her neutral game. She tells him he's freaking her out. He tells her to keep it down. He fires up the game, coaching her moves, but it's tougher than it looks like trying to win a fistfight with the game's controls. He pulls out a stopwatch he carries everywhere for practice. Humor hits when he reveals the stopwatch is busted. Press the button too short and it won't stop. He hands it over, telling her to mash that button daily when no one's around. Short hops will be a breeze, he assures, pointing his finger. She gets the drill but asks with a sad, puzzled look, what the heck is up with his body language? Realizing he's channeling Hinami, he clears his throat and says practice at home means memorization. He shows her a saved match between two top players, usually main found, but here Nanashi's trying Foxy for the first time. He tells her to memorize the entire match to replicate it perfectly. She's skeptical, but he insists it's an exhaustive look at key techniques. Taking out notes, he writes down commands, button presses, and stick positions, highlighting attack ranges in blue and invincibility zones in red. She's blown away. He's memorized all that. He says it's not just for Foxy or Found, it's for every character. Asked why he goes through so much trouble, he says he doesn't play TAC-fam to make friends or win praise, but because he loves the game itself. She thinks if he's that good, it's no fun for anyone else, and calls it a total turnoff. They agree it's weird. He asks if she thinks he cares what people think. He's dead honest, he doesn't care, and hates setting goals he can't meet. She admits she's never seen him enjoy himself at school. He says there's more to life than just laughing with friends all the time. She can't relate. He explains that he's always had the same mindset. Life was an unreasonable garbage game. But recently, he met a gamer with a rotten attitude who's just as good as he is. Everyone claims life is a god-tier game, and after learning strategies and putting in effort, he's convinced it's at least a good game, even if he hates admitting it. This change fuels his belief that Yuzu can change too, if she wants. Later, he meets Hinami and shares everything. She compares it to equipping a sword that just happens to exploit a boss's elemental weakness and a shield blocking the boss's elemental attack. A miraculous combo. She warns him not to get cocky. There's another heroine in his playthrough. She asks if he's decided to ask Fuka out and hands him tickets for a pre-release movie Sunday. While listening to his pocket recorder, he accidentally switches folders and hears Hinami practicing her recent line about younger guys not being worth it, impressing him with her dedication. Time flies, and Yuzu's improving faster than expected. Soon, she'll be taking on Shuji. In the library, Tomozaki sits near Fuka and confesses their previous Andy chat was a lie. He's never read any of those books. He admits grabbing an Andy book just because it was nearest his usual seat and admits he was pretending to read while plotting TAC-fam strategies. She asks about the spell he said. He says EB something was random. She tells him it's a goodbye spell from the book. He assures her it was just a coincidence. She gets a bit sad, and he feels bad for promising to read her novel. Smiling, she tells him not to worry, and their conversation flows smoothly. Later in class, sitting alone, he hasn't asked Fuka to the movies, feeling it would be unfair to ask after hyping her up. He decides to wait until things cool off to keep it sincere, planning to tell Hinami this. On the way to the sewing room, two guys drag Tomozaki to the old AV room where Shuji's waiting with TACFam. Shuji demands a seat and a game, clearly mad about Yuzu and Tomozaki becoming friends. Tomozaki knows Shuji will settle for a win but refuses to cut corners. Yuzu along with other girls showed up like it's a free Netflix premiere. Excitement peaks as Tomozaki easily wins the first round and tries to leave for Hinami, but Shuji demands a rematch and loses again. Yuzu spills the tea to Hinami. 5 rounds later, Shuji's pride is bruised and he insists on more matches. In one round, he snags a stock but isn't satisfied, pushing for more play. Yellow-haired Erika tells Shuji to rest, baffled by his obsession with the game. He snaps. It's none of her business. She retorts that making them stay was creepy. Calling her creepy back, Shuji reignites tension. Erika confronts Shuji about rejecting her after she confessed feelings. She admits she only tried because she hoped to date the most popular guy. Finding out he's such a freak made her regret it. Shuji shrugs, uninterested. Erika mocks his endless losing streak and calls him creepy and weak. She ridicules his after-school practice as pointless. Tomozaki interrupts, asking her to clarify. She calls him a weirdo, and he challenges her vocabulary to more than just insults. And just like that, the vocabulary battle begins. He passionately defends TACFam as a deep yet accessible game, hating when people diss it without trying. He tells him to quit messing around, questioning if all his effort was for nothing. He reminds Erika he beat Shuji last time, citing the combo that made Foxy shoot him down, questioning if she knows the grind behind it. Shuji previously blamed his character but now makes no excuses despite continuing to lose. Still, he keeps fighting. Tomozaki explains Shuji's goal, facing it daily, working hard, and now seeing results. He yells at Erika, telling her Shuji isn't a joke and that mocking someone's hard work is hateful. Pointing at her, he declares he hates people who mock effort without trying themselves. Yuzu jumps in to defend Tomozaki, having recently played TACFam and recognizing its depth. Erika, bored, calls her friends Mika and Mao to leave. After they leave, Yuzu breaks down in tears, scared. Shuji comforts her, asking why she pushed herself so hard, praising her effort. Before leaving, Shuji tells Tomozaki he'll win next time. Later, over lunch, Tomozaki tells Hinami that Shuji and Kono have stopped, giving him grief, suspecting she pulled strings. Changing the subject to Fuka, Tomozaki shows her 2 preview tickets for tomorrow and asks if she wants to join. She apologizes for club activities but offers to hang out afterward, asking if he wants to see a different movie. An intense elation hits him, not the joy of a rich offline life or going out with a girl, but a primal joy born from achieving his goals through hard work. Pointing at her, he echoes her signature word, exactly, because basic words are for basic witches. With his showdown against Shuji behind him, Tomozaki greeted the weekend differently from the normies who went out singing karaoke or shopping. He holed up in his room grinding TACFam. He recalled Hinami's advice that the post-movie cafe stop was a perfect chance to chat about common interests, but when he talked about the movie, he sounded like he was lecturing, complete with lifeless eye contact and the emotional range of a spoon. He knew he had crushed the mood. No quarter, no mercy, no kindness. Basically a human mood vacuum. Then Hinami messaged him for another round if he wasn't too tired. Tomozaki believed the key to this game called life lay in repetition, building knowledge and putting it into practice. Even though he let Hinami decide what to work on and how, he felt he was starting to see it for himself. Back at Sekitomo High, he entered class convinced he was tackling life like a gamer who means it. He knew deep down that's how he'd started talking a little with the girls, but now it was time to do the unthinkable, start an actual conversation without sweating through his shirt. He casually asked Yuzu if she knew Shuji's birthday was coming up. She corrected him, it's a month away, not around the corner, and he realized his bluntness was insensitive. Mizusawa approached Tomozaki, asking if he had a moment. Surprised, Tomozaki wondered if he needed help again. Mizusawa laughed, saying he just wanted to talk. He admitted being too serious was annoying and lame, and that he wasn't against Tomozaki's approach. He said he had people like Tomozaki on his side, which shocked Tomozaki, mostly because he'd always thought he'd be picked after the chairs in dodgeball. Later, Tomozaki relayed this to Hinami in sewing room 2. Mizusawa invited him to lunch with Hinami and another girl, a foursome. She suggested inviting another girl as good practice for his small goals. Tomozaki mentally scrolled through all the girls like a confused online shopper, then picked Yuzu. He'd already talked to her about Shuji's birthday, and Mizusawa gave good advice. Plus, shopping together felt like low risk, social cardio. Tomozaki asked Yuzu to join, but she declined, not wanting to drag everyone along. He recognized she cared about appearances and was bad at letting others do things for her. After panicking, he made a good excuse, patched things up because Shuji wasn't a bad guy and 2 TACFam fans should get along. He added that Shuji's birthday was a great chance. Yuzu admitted she had been iffy but agreed, squeezing his shoulder like she was about to push him into a hero's journey. She started ranting that both he and Shuji were good guys who should not fight. That night, Tomozaki got a group call from Hinami about birthday gift planning. 8 people joined instantly like it was a national emergency. Hesitant at first, he joined after his little sister pointed out the invitation and questioned his reluctance. At the Beanstalk Mall, Hinami accused him of turning a quick bite into full shopping trip, blaming him for ramping up the difficulty. She told him to gain experience and complete his earlier task. Mizusawa arrived, greeted warmly by Hinami. Tomozaki was surprised by their sudden closeness. Yuzu also appeared and the 4 set out shopping. Tomozaki realized he'd barely spoken since Yuzu and Mizusawa arrived. Yuzu asked what to buy for Shuji and whispered to Tomozaki about a rumor that Hinami and Mizusawa were dating. Stunned, Tomozaki felt overwhelmed. Remembering Hinami's instruction, he focused on making 2 successful group suggestions to practice: leading and controlling group mood, key steps toward a richer offline life. Sitting with Yuzu, he struggled to think of gift ideas. She told him Mizusawa suggested acne cream, but she doubted Shuji would appreciate that. Thinking of the handsome, strong Shuji with his normie hairstyle, she proposed styling wax. Mizusawa agreed and mentioned a store with a wide selection. After giving Tomozaki's hair a quick demo like a surprisingly fashionable magician, Yuzu bought the gift. Grateful and slightly amazed, they pulled it off without chaos. Looking in the mirror, Tomozaki reflected that he was hard on himself about looks. He didn't want to misjudge or be humiliated, so he evaluated himself harshly but took pride in it. At least it wasn't a misjudgment. Tomozaki bought a pick cam for Shuji. After shopping, they ate a 4-cheese special pizza at a nearby restaurant. Tomozaki was surprised because Mizusawa knew about Hinami's cheese obsession. On the train ride home, Hinami and Mizusawa chatted non-stop. Later, Tomozaki messaged Yuzu asking about the rumor's source. She said it was just a rumor she overheard. The next day, Hinami asked why he hadn't completed his task and if he'd noticed anything during the shopping trip. Tomozaki said he'd noticed his appearance improved slightly. She said that was the right direction. Visible change fuels motivation and initiative. She compared it to the thrill of landing powerful attacks in a game. She asked what he thought of the shopping. He admitted Mizusawa's suggestions had substance, but the first store was too fancy and expensive. Hinami told him to drop the self-deprecation, saying nothing in that store would have suited Shuji. She asked if the pizza was tasty. He said it wasn't great. She concluded that sparking interest and making people think something might be good is the key to a successful suggestion. Writing on the board, she explained that the ease of getting a suggestion accepted is the true measure of its quality. Tomozaki asked if that meant tricking people into accepting ideas that just sound well. She agreed. It's a simple rule that ranks persuasion over quality. He called the game garbage, but she asked what if there was a negotiation game where meeting targets depends on persuasion. With effective speech skills and tailored information warfare, he could unify interests and recruit influential characters. Would such a game be garbage? She said reality is a fun game too, but yelling about what's right won't change minds. She wrote, if confident in a suggestion, exploit a bad rule to push it through. Camouflage it as an opinion everyone can accept, dressing it up slightly. This is how to get suggestions accepted while keeping their fundamental goodness, a proper way to fight. After her speech, she asked if she'd convinced him. He agreed. Later in class, the teacher announced student council nominations, asking for interested candidates. Hinami raised her hand, cheered by classmates. Minami also raised her hand, signaling she planned to run too. Hinami informs Tomozaki that he will be Minami's campaign manager, explaining that his role is to support her candidate efforts. She suggests Minami can serve as his conversation model to help sharpen his social skills. Despite this, Tomozaki doubts his ability to truly support Minami. He is taken aback when Hinami confidently asserts that Minami will win in the end. Later, Tomozaki accidentally bumps into Minami and seizes the chance to ask if he can be her campaign manager. She appreciates the gesture, but points out he seems a bit unreliable. In the library, Tomozaki worries about the student council elections when Fuka approaches, revealing she also wants to change things and herself. At home, Tomozaki reflects on Fuka's desire for change, which feels relatable for an introvert like him, but he's surprised that popular Minami wants to change too. The next day, Tomozaki sees Minami canvassing votes with her track and field juniors and campaign manager Yumiko Yamashita. Meanwhile, Hanami's campaign manager Mizusawa impresses with his persuasive skills, making Hanami seem unbeatable. Later, Minami shares her campaign promises with Tomozaki. He improves the layout to make it easier to read and offers to help with such brain work. Impressed, Minami hires him, intrigued by the brain label. She asks why he's so invested. He admits he wants to see Hanami defeated. The tougher the opponent, the more fired up he gets. Minami shares the same goal and places high expectations on Tomozaki. He advises focusing campaign promises only on what students want. Having learned life's tricks from Hinami, whom he views as the top boss in this good game called life, Tomozaki aims to take her down. Though still a bottom-tier player, he trusts himself and resolves to become like Minashi in real life. On the football field, Minami excitedly spots Tama Hanabi Natsubayashi and proceeds to lick her belly button, surprising purple-haired senior Shiori, who questions Minami's sanity. Minami whispers about using an electric ball pump to win votes and asks Hanabi to touch her back to feel her magic fingers. That evening in Chuo Ward, Minami is pleased with her campaign success and asks Tomozaki about tomorrow's plans. He explains they'll work to secure a vote majority. Aware of the rivalry between him and Hanami, the no-name and the Nashi of this game, he asks why Minami wants to beat Hanami. She explains that while first place stands out and is well known, second place is forgotten, which drives her desire to win. The next morning, Tomozaki observes Hanami campaigning and recognizes her style that believes his approach can also succeed. He approaches Hanami to request her help with Minami's campaign, playing music to find the best sound location. She asks him not to push her too hard, as she tends to overwork herself, and he promises to look out for her. At day's end, Tomozaki sees Minami still fervently gathering votes. The following day at a cafe, he suggests that Minami promised to install air conditioners if elected. unexpected. In a first-year classroom, Minami assures students she will bring air conditioning to every room, a promise that easily secures their votes, given their ignorance of the effort required. With sports club votes secured thanks to the ball pump tactic, only Minami's campaign speech remains. Tomozaki coaches her on delivery. Hinami watches Tomozaki take the campaign seriously and smiles. Minami thanks him for his help, and together, they are determined to defeat Hinami in the student council election. Tomozaki and Hinami reflect on the past busy days, noting they hadn't even found time to face Nanashi and TACFAM. Tomozaki remarks, "It's strange since Nanashi has been fighting No Name all along." Hinami's hopes rise. Hearing this, believing he's done his best. At the student council rally, Mizusawa opened the rally like a seasoned campaign manager, delivering his speech with enough polish to make toothpaste jealous. Hinami steps up next, acknowledging that many students doubt big changes. She invites them to voice complaints, poor school store selection, small lunch portions, a lackluster sports festival, or wanting an electric ball pump, and promises solutions. Her platform centers on installing air conditioners, initially planned just for the first year, but presented boldly to the whole school. Tomozaki observes Hinami work the crowd like she was born with a built-in charisma setting with common interests and persuasive power, urging them to vote for her. Yumiko Yamashita stumbles during her speech, then Minami takes the stage. Tomozaki quietly amps up the volume and starts a timer. When the alarm sounds, Minami snaps her fingers and commands her virtual assistant Nabi to turn it off, causing laughter. She playfully asks Nabi who will win the presidency. Tomozaki knew it. Going head-to-head with Hinami was like trying to outshine the sun. If Minami wanted a shot, she'd need to find a blind spot. Minami asks Nabi if she will vote for her, then appeals to the students. Her ad-libbing and charm win over the crowd, and she hugs Tomozaki happily. Afterward, Minami and Tomozaki approach Hinami. Minami senses the vibe between Hinami and Tomozaki and wonders if the dating rumors are true. The votes are tallied. Hinami wins with 416 votes to Minami's 131. Minami isn't downhearted. She thanks Tomozaki, and they share grape juice, optimistic about next time. Hinami and Tomozaki resume their old training. She laughs when she learns Tomozaki was behind the Nabi stunt and enjoys it. She advises more discretion since Nanashi is involved and admits she crushed Minami's efficient campaign promise with brute force. She reminds Tomozaki to finish the task of going out alone with a girl. Waiting for Fuka Kikuchi, Tomozaki contemplates how to ask her to a movie. He decides to read Michael Andy's books to have something to discuss with her, finding them genuinely good. Later, he sees Hanabi watching Hanami and Minami sprint ahead in practice. He thinks Minami won't quit competing because losers do not quit, because she knows how it feels to be a loser. The next day, Hinami tells Tomozaki Minami arrived early for practice even before her. She notes Minami visits him after practice daily. Reviewing his goals and progress, Hinami stresses the value of effort. Learning through trial and error and effort is not a bad thing. She cautions him not to overthink challenges. That day, Minami jokes with Tomozaki about confessing love. She mentions to him that she's been putting in a lot of effort lately and is heading to lunch. The following morning, Tomozaki asks Hanabi about Minami. Hanabi explains they haven't been friends long. Minami befriended her in second term of first year by persistently poking her cheeks despite Hanabi's annoyance and attempts to stop her. This persistence sparked their friendship. Hanabi admires people good at making friends, acknowledging her difficulties. She explains that Minami sought Hinami's advice to befriend a quiet girl, and Hinami recommended daily interaction. Minami took this to heart, teasing Hanabi's cheeks every day. Hinami told Hanabi Minami's teasing was for her benefit, but Hanabi pretends not to notice. Later, Minami jokes that Hanabi tastes saltier than usual and tells her to stop comparing people. Minami attempts to snaffle Hanabi's elbows before Hanami stops her. Tomozaki realizes these three are basically glued together, just as Hanabi had described. In the Saitama Prefectural Tournament, Minami couldn't stop Hanami from scoring, leading to their loss. After school, she goes for a run, determined to improve her weaknesses. The next day, she's caught sleeping in class. Fuka and Tomozaki sitting in the library. Note she's been like that since the election. Fuka imagines Minami trying to compete with Hanami but can't picture Hanami understanding Minami's motivation. Hanabi watches Minami and Hanami running the next morning, thinking Minami is overdoing it. On the way home after school, Tomozaki asks Minami if she's pushing herself too hard, trying to beat Hanami. She admits she wants to quit but fears it would be worse to stop now. Tomozaki understands that feeling. He knows what it's like to lose after giving up halfway. The next day, Minami arrives at school earlier than Hanami. After their tournament loss, Minami had asked teammates how they could smile and laugh, despite losing to a team that had put in tremendous effort. Though frustrated, they admired her dedication. Hinami notices Minami working too hard to surpass her. In sewing room 2, Hinami tells Tomozaki that Minami is nearing her breaking point and wants to talk some sense into her before she then collapses, though she fears it might backfire. When Tomozaki asks why Minami is so obsessed with her, Hinami recalls that in the middle school's prefectural basketball tournament, Minami's team lost to hers, with Hinami as the key player. Tomozaki visits Yumiko to learn about middle school Minami. Yumiko says Minami was talented but felt out of place. Their final tournament was a showdown between two aces, Minami and Hinami, and Minami's team lost. Minami was deeply upset. On a rainy day, Hanabi and Tomozaki are relieved they can't run, but are shocked to see Hinami still running solo like the storm was her training partner. While Minami skips practice. The next day, Minami seems out of place in class and leaves early without practicing. Tomozaki catches up and tells her what Yumiko shared about her middle school basketball team. He asks if that's when her rivalry with Hinami began. Minami shares that after losing, she watched Hinami play in a national tournament. Hinami's team finished second, but she was disappointed. When the winner was announced, Hinami didn't cry for her own team's loss, but cried when another team won. Minami wants to be special like Hinami and was surprised to see her again at their high school entrance. Hinami remembered her and expressed a wish to play together. Minami admires Hinami deeply and is grateful to her, the person she least wants to lose to. Losing to Hinami reminded her she may not be the main character she believes shining means coming in first, though even that feels impossible. Tomozaki feels she already shines brightly. As Minami turns back for something she forgot, Tomozaki reflects on their conversation. The next day, Tomozaki and Hinami discuss Minami's absence from practice, then learn she's quitting the club. Hinami tells Minami she wants to keep running track together. Before leaving, Tomozaki asks if Minami and Hanabi can walk home together. Later, Hanabi asks Minami if she hates Hinami now that she quit track. Minami denies it, expressing deep respect and tears, knowing she could never hate Hinami, who is truly special. Yet, she admits feeling jealous of Hinami's success and wanting her gone, which horrifies her. She hates herself for being salty. When they practiced together, she wondered why Hinami didn't stop. If she cared, she would quit immediately. Quitting was her way to stop these painful feelings. Hanabi comforts her, calling her her hero and praising her. Though Hanabi likes Hinami too, Minami is her only hero. They share a hug. The next day, Minami apologizes to the club and rejoins. Her feelings toward Hinami, a mix of gratitude, respect, and envy. Thanks to Hanabi, those feelings were finally untangling. Meanwhile, Tomozaki prepares to face his own challenge before summer vacation, giving Shuji his birthday present. He gifts Shuji a controller, knowing his love for TACFAM. Realizing 3 minutes pass without a real conversation, Tomozaki awkwardly asks if Shuji thinks Mizusawa and Hinami are dating. At Cafe Gesto, everyone laughs at Tomozaki's bluntness. Hinami jokes about dating Mizusawa but quickly clarifies they're not together. Minami apologizes to her friends with a cute gift, charming everyone and leaving Tomozaki impressed. Hinami bluntly calls Tomozaki's outfit pathetic, but he has no new summer clothes. Realizing she forgot to assign him a special task, she takes him to lunch to set his summer break goal: go somewhere with a girl who isn't her. She instructs him to start dating Fuka Kikuchi. Later, they visit a clothing store on the 5th floor. Remembering Hinami's tip that Fuka likes him, Tomozaki's first task is a movie date with Fuka, followed by gradual steps toward a real relationship. To prep him, Hinami arranges a date rehearsal. At a store called Ragged, she tells him to buy a t-shirt and picks out 2 options for him. After shopping, she gives him her backpack but swaps it for a cute, inexpensive metal badge that wouldn't make him feel like he owed her a kidney. Tomozaki thanks her for the backpack, sensing her clever move. They then head to Amiya West Entrance's Sego Electronics store, where, rinsed, they play TACFAM. Tomozaki defeats Hinami. She hands him Fuka's ID and tells him to add her and invite her to a movie. She types and sends the message for him. Fuka quickly replies, agreeing to the date. Later, Hinami invites him to a barbecue with Minami, Yuzu, Shuji, Mizusawa, and Takei, a plot to bring Yuzu and Shuji together. Tomozaki can't believe he's invited to such a youthful, normie event. Hinami says the time together will help him make guy friends, but she doesn't pressure him since it's overnight. The gamer in Tomozaki stirred. He decides to master this game. Hinami assigns him the task to tease Mizusawa 3 times, otherwise he'll be the group's punching bag. Moderate teasing and challenging others are keys to gaining equal footing. Mizusawa spots Tomozaki's new look and jokes about another escape from Loserland. The 3, Tomozaki, Mizusawa, and Hinami, head to Minami's house, but her grandmother suddenly falls ill, so they move to Tomozaki's place. His little sister is stunned by the crowd. Upstairs, Tomozaki plans to complete his task. Minami discovers his old TACFAM controllers unusable for that game, but fine for others. Tomozaki notices Hinami, transformed briefly into No Name. They sit to strategize getting Yuzu and Shuji together. Tomozaki offers input, completing his task. Then Mizusawa, destroyer of moods, reminds them of next year's exams. Minami almost has a heart attack hearing that. Tomozaki feels accomplished for the day. Mizusawa finds Tomozaki's hair gel but laughs at his unfamiliarity. He suggests taming the hair below the crown. Mizusawa helps style it while Tomozaki records a tutorial. Mizusawa notes Tomozaki's wholehearted dedication. Tomozaki explains he hates losing at games. Mizusawa suggests he loosen up and enjoy things more, praising his hard work. Minami and Hinami are surprised later to see Tomozaki's styled hair and suspect something's up between him and Mizusawa, as Mizusawa was giving out makeovers like friendship bracelets. As they leave, Tomozaki remembers the upcoming movie date with Fuka. On the day he waits nervously, Fuka arrives and their date finally begins. Walking to the theater, he notices her wearing full sleeves on a sunny day and asks why. She's excited to watch a movie on the big screen. They buy tickets, watch attentively, and later have lunch. Tomozaki talks about the movie but realizes he's over-talking. Switching to a memorized topic, he asks when she started reading certain books and shits topics smoothly. Fuka calls him a mystery, sometimes easy to talk to and sometimes like a locked door. He sighs, feeling still like a bottom-tier character. On their way back, Fuka thanks him for the day, admitting she usually usually finds boys hard to talk to but enjoys moments with him. She hesitantly suggests going out again sometime. Tomozaki feels happy. Later, Hinami calls for an update. Hearing about the date, she advises him to reflect on the hard to talk to comment. She attributes it to lack of experience and encourages more practice. That night, Hinami sends details for the next date, the Toda Bridge fireworks show. Tomozaki invites Fuka, who eagerly accepts. He realizes the event is an overnight trip with many normies and wonders how that will go. Tomozaki and Minami board the train to Ikebukuro, where their overnight normie camp begins. The plan to get Izumi and Shuji together is already in motion, although they succeeded in seating them next to each other. Tomozaki wonders if Takei knows about the scheme, as he missed the meeting. Hinami dismisses Takei as useless and plans to proceed without him. On the Chichibu Limited Express, Hinami reminds Tomozaki to tease, suggest, or disagree during the camp, emphasizing the importance of making guy friends, especially Mizusawa, who is Tomozaki's likeliest candidate and a key ally for conquering life. She also urges him to boost his XP and learn new skills overnight. Arriving at Kemi's family village camp, Hinami assigns tasks: Yuzu, Izumi, and Shuji to food prep, Mizusawa and Takei to set up the tarp and chairs, with Minami assisting them, and Hinami and Tomozaki to start the fire. She explains her strategy: food prep and tarp setup are arduous, so they assign them to brawny Takei and natural leader Mizusawa, while Minami fits in easily. Since Tomozaki can't contribute without the fire, Hinami chooses to handle it herself. After the meal, meat, veggies, and shrimp. Tomozaki reflects that although such scenes usually repel him, this might be fun. Post-meal, Yuzu regrets overeating. The group heads to the river for a swim. Watching them, Tomozaki thinks they're doing marvelously on their own until he's shocked to see Taki holding a river crab like it was a trophy. Yuzu nearly falls, but Shuji catches her. Back inside, Mizusawa asks Shuji about his situation with Shimano. Shuji claims nothing is going on and that he's moving on. Tomozaki overhears and, interrupting, jokes Shimano is stringing him along, prompting laughter. They ask Shuji if he likes anyone. He admits he does, but doubts she's noticed him. Later, they play games while Tomozaki updates Hinami on the Shimano situation. They all play Tycoon, with Hinami winning 5 times to Tomozaki's 4. Noticing he forgot his task, Tomozaki cracks a joke. Shuji reveals Mizusawa has been flirting with a girl from another school. Mizusawa boasts he could be with her if he wanted, delighting the group. Alone, Tomozaki revisits the topic with Mizusawa, who admits he might not truly like the girl despite pursuing her. Tomozaki is surprised Mizusawa still believes a relationship is possible and asks why he wants to date her. Meanwhile, the 3 girls shower together, discussing Yuzu's apparent certainty about her feelings. Hinami suggests it's a test of courage, hoping to unite Shuji and Yuzu. The boys share the adjacent shower and are surprised by Tomozaki's mature appearance. To complete his task, Tomozaki teasingly says the private part of Shuji as tiny, provoking laughter. That night, the group embarks on a spooky walk along a well-known haunted road, splitting into teams to return to camp. Shuji and Yuzu pair up and become targets of teasing. Hinami and Minami praise Taki and Tomozaki for the plan, though Taki remains clueless. With Minami, Mitsusawa, and Taki departing, Hinami and Tomozaki remain behind for special training. Hinami suddenly screams and hugs Tomozaki, who panics but tries to stay calm, knowing it's teasing. She hugs him again from behind. Tomozaki's brain floods with panic, yet he works to soothe her. As they continue, a cicada startles Hinami so much she can't stand. Tomozaki carries her in his arms, supporting her through the fright. Tomozaki struggles to maintain eye contact with Hinami as she moves closer, but he steps back just in time, prompting her laughter and claiming victory. Later, while recording a group video, Shuji and Yuzu argue and leave, leaving others to wonder about their slow, cautious progress. Hinami sighs, thinking they should learn from Mizusawa's boldness and hopes things work out for him. That night, Hinami messages Tomozaki about a new task to explain on the train. The next day, she reviews his camp performance, asking if he completed his assignment to tease or disagree with Shuji 3 times. Tomozaki recalls each instance, passing the task. Suddenly, Mizusawa appeared out of nowhere like a plot twist. Nobody saw coming, thinking Tomozaki and Hinami might be together. Tomozaki immediately hides. Mizusawa joins Hinami for a chit-chat with Shuji and Yuzu, calling them awkward but admiring their sincerity and emotional involvement. Mizusawa reflects on Tomozaki's earnestness and considers trying to be a bit more carefree himself. Tomozaki shares his feeling of detachment, like holding a game controller but not being the player. Mistakes affect the character, not him, and he's always observing from a distance. Hinami agrees, partially, admitting she plays the role others expect, balancing pride and not wanting to disappoint. Tomozaki senses this isn't her true self, but another carefully crafted mask. Hinami adds that most people act to some degree and that finding one person to be genuine with is key. Mizusawa admits that around girls he plays the ideal boyfriend, understanding their feelings but feels no match for Hinami. He confesses his feelings to her with a steady voice but heart racing, wanting to date her. Relieved to voice his desires honestly after a long time, he vows not to give up and asks how long she'll keep her mask. Tomozaki emerges, apologizing for hiding to avoid suspicion, surprised by the open confession. Mizusawa calls him stupidly honest. Hinami suggests they pretend the moment never happened and returns to camp. Mizusawa feels he found clarity at camp, confronting his true desires, while Hinami remains unmoved, stubbornly defending her perfect facade. Tomozaki sees similarities but crucial differences between them and wonders whether one should embrace the mask or their true feelings. Back home, Tomozaki receives Hinami's message telling him to confess his feelings to Fuka after the fireworks. The next day, he meets Fuka, who wears a yukata. On their way, he shares his trip experiences. At night, waiting for the fireworks, he notices he's not relying on memorized conversation topics and questions if he's been wrong all along. The fireworks light the sky beautifully. He asks if she still finds him hard to talk to. She says no, he's been easy to talk to all night. Ignoring Hinami's instructions, he tells Fuka to head home alone. Later, Hinami arrives at Kitayano to meet him. He admits he didn't tell Fuka how he feels and went out without prepared topics. There, conversation becomes awkward. He shares Fuka's comment that he was easy to talk to, realizing his difficulty came from using practice skills. Fuka, though, had a sixth sense. She saw right through the mask he had carefully built. He asks Hinami to stop with the countermeasures and strategies, suggesting they first find out if he truly likes Fuka. She notes his admiration for Mizusawa and calls his behavior typical human weakness, dismissing it as a passing illusion, distracting him from real progress. Tomozaki disagrees, insisting he needs clarity on what he truly wants. He admits he hasn't confessed to Fuka because he's uncertain himself and finds it strange to express feelings just for task completion. Hinami accuses him of ditching his goals and personal growth like they were last season's gear. She returns the metal badge he gave her, implying he no longer needs the bag or her support. She leaves, while Tomozaki reflects that, had they truly engaged, they might have bridged their differences. Yet, wanting to move forward, he lost a connection he valued. Just another defeat for a bottom-tier character. Deeply immersed in his game, Tomozaki fails to notice his little sister knocking persistently on his door. She scolds him for reverting to his old, unkempt look despite his progress and reminds him he's ignored a girl's messages for 2 days. Seeing Fuka's texts inviting him out on the 21st, he regrets his neglect, knowing he defied Hinami by dismissing human connections as mere tasks. Yet, he refuses to run from Fuka, no matter how their relationship began. Meeting Fuka, Tomozaki abandons memorized conversation topics and XP gaining tactics, choosing sincerity over masks. Her comment that he was easy to talk to warms his heart. At Osiad bookstore, he's surprised to find Fuka reading books he never expected her to enjoy. He learns she confronts her true desires more earnestly than anyone he knows, buying a copy of Kind Dogs Stand Alone. They share lunch, with Tomozaki consciously presenting his unvarnished self, no carefully. Shows an outfit or hair wax, which he now sees as masks hiding his true self. This leaves his expression and posture weak and hollow, recalling his earlier self's feeling of ordinary normalcy. While telling Hinami it's pointless to act against his true wants, he admits he found meaning in working towards set goals from a player's perspective. Sitting with Fuka, he confesses someone's been coaching him. He recorded and replayed his own speech and used flashcards but eventually gave up the pretense. She reveals she finds him easy to talk to because his words paint vivid images in her mind, like a novel. When he relied on flashcards, it became harder for her to visualize, and the images were initially black and white, sad and lonely. She wondered if Tomozaki was like her, seeing a world more beautiful than reality. As he changed, the colors in her mental images grew richer, and she, praised his hard work. He thanks her sincerely. That night, Hinami messages him to meet. He tells her what he liked and enjoyed, explaining how he poured his soul into the experience to become one with his character. Video games drew him because he could control characters directly. Though his days were gray, she showed him how to add color and control the game of life, for which he's grateful. Hinami dismisses this as idealistic sentimentality. He insists what he really wants is real. She challenges him to prove his true desires exist. He counters that one can't judge a game without playing it, and that discovering what one truly wants requires struggle and sincere effort, not just asking for proof. He admits she's a top-tier character but claims he enjoys life more. He offers to teach her how to truly engage with life and find genuine desires, but she doubts such desires exist. Tomozaki explains his true desires fueled his rise as Japan's top TAC-FAM player, and that despite her consistent first-place finishes, she can't surpass him because she doesn't know what she really wants. He invites her to try beating him without that knowledge. They were once Tomozaki and Hinami, are Mouvier, no, name, and Nanashi. In this arena where rationality means nothing, only he can win. She's the only one willing to step into that ring because no gamer hates losing more than she does. Though she can't accept the idea of true desires, she can't deny they might exist. She tells him to take time to prove his point and convince her. He vows to keep conquering life, pursuing goals aligned with his true desires, skipping those that conflict. She expresses low expectations but leaves it to Nanashi. Later, during lunch, he returns the bag and metal badge to Hinami, thanking her for adding color to his life even if half of it was neon stress. She assigns him a part-time job, coincidentally, at the same place Mizusawa works. He goes shopping with Yuzu for a dress for her date with Shuji and helps Minami pick cute gifts for Tomozaki's little sister. Meanwhile, Fuka finishes her novel and asks Tomozaki to read it. Time passes. Tomozaki meets Hinami, who warns him not to let his guard down, noting his progress. Life rolled on with never-ending TAC-FAM battles where he keeps defeating Hinami,